Senator Franken just introduced and got passed his very first amendment as a U.S. Senator, and I'm sure that is very exciting for him. And because he is a freshman senator, his first assignment, to be honest, was a bit of a gimme. It was an amendment so clearly necessary and rational, such a no-brainer that no one could ever possibly vote against this. Unless you're a Republican in the 111th Congress. Hoo boy, in this Congress, taxpayer-subsidized rape is apparently a controversial issue. Senator Franken's amendment would withhold government contracts from companies that prohibit employees alleging workplace sexual assault and discrimination from taking their cases to court.
The amendment will apply to many contractors that have already demonstrated their incompetence in efficiently carrying out defense contracts and have further demonstrated their unwillingness and their inability to protect women from sexual assault.
Some companies do not agree. They strongly prefer the privacy of a good old-fashioned cash settlement over the alternative, the very public due process of law. Well, the final vote on the Franken Amendment was 68-30. All nay votes on the amendment came from Republicans, meaning 3 out of 4 Republicans voted against the "if you are raped, you get your day in court" bill. Good luck running on that record in 2010. Sorry, no do-overs. In the state of Oklahoma, there is now a law, which hasn't yet taken effect, that would require physicians to collect specific, detailed personal information from any woman who gets an abortion. The 37 questions suggested in the legislation include the date and location of the abortion, the patient's age, marital status, race, education, state or county of residency, and history of pregnancies. Also, the reason the patient is seeking an abortion, the method of payment the patient used, whether the patient was a state employee at the time of the abortion. But the law doesn't just stipulate that physicians ask questions like those. They're then required to send the completed questionnaires to the state, where the health department will use the information from each woman's form to create an annual abortion report to be posted online. They want to post this stuff online. A former Democratic state rep is challenging the law in court. But to be clear, the state of Oklahoma is trying to mandate the collection and online publication of this personal medical information about abortions. We should probably notify Dick Armey. He will want to add some Oklahoma state legislators to that call targets list. He's really campaigning against a government takeover of health care. Joining us now is Megan Carpentier. She's editor of News and Politics at Air America, where, full disclosure, I also work. Megan, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Is there any reason, besides trying to intimidate women who might seek an abortion, that you would want to post this kind of information online?
Well, they've been very specific that their end goal is to keep women from having abortions. They think by
Republican Bob McDonnell, a candidate for governor in Virginia, in his graduate school thesis at Pat Robertson's Regent University, McDonnell, a former Virginia Attorney General, wrote this, quote, "Every level of government should statutorily and procedurally prefer married couples over cohabitators, homosexuals, or fornicators. The cost of sin should fall on the sinner, not the taxpayer." McDonnell went on to write that, quote, "Working women are a detriment to the family." Working women, of course, are a key voting bloc for any candidate. McDonnell is currently...
Let me say this about General McChrystal, with all due respect. His recommendations to the president should go up the line of command. They shouldn't be in press conferences. The fact is I think that that's not where this debate takes place.
That statement brought this rebuke from the National Republican Campaign Committee, which is part of the RNC and helps involved in fundraising for House members and Senate members. It issued a statement reading, quote, "If Nancy Pelosi's failed economic policies are any indicator of the effect she may have on Afghanistan, taxpayers can only hope McChrystal is able to put her in her place." Earlier on MSNBC, Florida Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz took exception to that language.
It shouldn't be surprising, but it's still shocking that in the 21st century they would make comments like that. They would never make a comment like that if Newt Gingrich expressed his opinion when he was Speaker, or if Dennis Hastert when he was Speaker. It just shows the shocking sexism that exists in the Republican Party today.
So is the Republican comment beyond the pale or not? Here to make their case, Tim Fernholz, writing fellow and blogger for the American Prospect, and Sabrina Schaefer, visiting fellow for the Independent Women's Forum and a blogger for the Inkwell. Sabrina, I'm not even sure the statement makes any sense when they talk about Nancy Pelosi's failed economic policies, because who knows what they're referring to there. She sort of helped the Obama administration keep the Depression from coming on. But putting that aside, whenever you say that, refer to a woman as saying that she should be put in her place, is that ever appropriate?
Look, I just want to get to the point. This is absolutely not about sexism. This is about Nancy Pelosi belly aching over a careless comment by the NRCC, who I should put in parentheses, you just had to explain to your viewers what the NRCC is. So most people are not hearing this. The fact is, I think they're saying, look, you have a full plate. You have health care, you have cap and trade, you have Charlie Rangel, you have unemployment at 10%. You have plenty of other things to be worrying about than calling, this sexism.
Tim Fernholz, when it's a part of the Republican National Committee that issues an official statement that they had to think about, and they still go ahead and issue a statement that says, talking about putting Nancy Pelosi in her place, is that just a small problem, not a big deal at all?
I mean, it's not a big deal compared to some of the problems that we're talking about, but I think Sabrina sort of gives her away when she says, that this isn't a big deal. I mean, the NRCC is the political arm of the House Republicans, and it's the leadership of the House Republican Party saying that Nancy Pelosi has a place. But I think as the Speaker of the House in 2006 and 2008, Nancy Pelosi showed that she could put the Republicans in their place. I mean, the real issue here is how we're going to deal with the problem in Afghanistan, and I don't think it's out of the order for Speaker Pelosi to say, these recommendations need to come up the chain of command. And McChrystal said the same thing himself last week. He said, look, I work for my political bosses. That's my job as a general in the U.S. Army, and we have a strong tradition of civilian command over the military in this country. And I think McChrystal respects that, and I think Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the government respects him for his work.
And Sabrina, I think many would agree with you that it is more important to talk about the subject matter, but in that response, the NRCC decided to go there, if you will, and say that she needed to be put in her place. As a woman, and I hate to make things personal, but we're both women here, if you were in the workplace and you overheard a man in your workplace say you needed to be put in your place, would you just brush it off your shoulder as if it were nothing? And again, I hate to get personal and ask people that, but woman to woman, we'll just exclude the two men here. Tim, David, put your earmuffs on. Come on, you need to know your place. What does that mean?
This is like a careless comment, but the fact is, she is in a place of power, and I think that's what this comment was in reference to. She has all sorts of more important things to be looking at right now than to be calling out things on sexism. And the fact is, Pelosi is, as Wasserman Schultz pointed out, third in line for the presidency. She's got a pretty tough skin. She also has a lot of things that she needs to be focusing on. It is her place as Speaker of the House.
She's not the one making a big deal out of this. I mean, these are her supporters. She's staying focused. She's keeping her eye on the ball. It's her supporters who are saying this is beyond the pale.
It was not her, and in fact, Congressman Wasserman Schultz points out that the GOP, the caucus, is 80% white male, and at a time when you're trying to get more people to come on board, young people from different backgrounds, something like this can have an impact when you, as women, the 14 million cracks in the ceiling from Hillary Clinton might be offended by this kind of language.
Right, well, maybe, but I think that the point is, what I think is going to be more concerning for the Democratic Party is if they stay focused on things like sexism rather than winning the war in Afghanistan. And I think that's what we need to be talking about, is how can General McChrystal work with the Obama administration and the Congress to see some success on the ground?
Well, I think that's
where you get the last word.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are really ready to work with McChrystal to see what the right thing to do is in Afghanistan, but I don't think you should pretend that sexism isn't a real problem. It is, and especially when you have the opposition party, the Republicans in the United States, their official organ issuing a sexist statement. It's not just something you say, oh, that's no big deal. I mean, that's a sign of how far sexism has penetrated our society, and it's a real issue.
Tim Fernholz, Sabrina Schaefer, thank you both so much. We appreciate you coming on today. And